13th of October 2017, King Krule's album The Ooze blasted its way into markets with its dark and brash presence. It would mark the second album by Archie Marshall under the King Krule name, and with it an album that would combine the feelings of an apathetic and rebellious peoples simultaneously into a beautiful mess of an album. An album known for its self-destruction and self-deprecation, The Ooze is as relatable as it is challenging to listen to. In this video, I'm going to be covering a few songs off this album to explain how King Krule is able to create tension in music that somehow managed to be pleasing to the ear and yet often uncomfortable. On September 13th, 2017, Marshall released the alternative punk song Dumb Surfer, the second single off the album Ooze. Within the song is a blatant atmosphere of a smoky bar laden in degeneracy and drunkenness. King Krule's vocals of that of a chain smoker and lyrics of a train wreck about to happen. While Dumb Surfer, sonically, still contains King Krule's masterful blend of dark rock and roll and an almost eerie lounge jazz sound, it's what's painted in the lyrics and vocals that truly add to the tension of the music. The bulk of the song contains two voices, one distorted and almost demonic, and the other being Archie's normal British croon. Here's an example showing with the live version as another member of King Krule performs the other demonic vocals. The two vocals that berate each other over this surf beat are generally uttering the same doom and gloom that much of The Ooze is covered in. The story portrayed is that of Archie, very far from sober, trying to talk to a Slovak girl but failing to concentrate. Then the two leave the bar, where they presumably were on a date or a meetup, and proceed to get in a cab that almost crashes. While the voices that go back and forth might be into the same wavelength in terms of theme, there is an uncomfortable feeling created by different voices in your head, or headphones, especially when the vocals speak on the same destructive drunkenness. The question herein lies: how does this song maintain an interesting and enjoyable sound when the music is so undoubtedly unnerving? Well, often when I describe King Krule to people, I like to set a scene. Imagine the worst dive bar imaginable that you found next to some subway in a really bad part of town. You can barely see through the smoke, and everyone around you seems very aggressive and way too gone to contain themselves. All while a cheap band plays some jazz in the back. Not a great one, but one that perfectly fits the feel of the place. Even if you strip away the lyrics about being mashed or throwing up on sidewalks, the feel always sonically matches this dive bar aesthetic. So, why is this feeling so enjoyable? Well, for one, the punk elements of the music are never too in your face, as the backtrack is generally more easygoing. And yes, the start of the song features revving up synthesizers and an anxious surfer line that sounds like it's almost rushing to get somewhere, but the jazz and instrumentation don't clash with this sound, but rather add to the lounge feel of the music. This mix that goes throughout much of King Krule's music is what makes him so special. Even when Archie Marshall wanted to switch to a more hip-hop centric sound in his album A New Place to Drown, he changed his artist's name to just Archie Marshall so that King Krule could always stay as this tense jazz and rock mix that works so well. In short, this song is a shining example of what I would call challenging music. Its instrumentals are dense and unique but never too harsh, whereas the vocals and lyrics, however, are quite harsh and uncomfortable as they utter disturbing phrases back and forth in your head in those two demonic typing sounds in this very odd and anxious way. Now that we've looked over the King Krule template and how the usual genre mix creates tension, I'd now like to focus on the lyrics with the opener, Biscuit Town. The lyrics and delivery sound that of a stream of consciousness inside the brain of a conflicted man. Just look at how it sounds and is presented.
Seem to sing lower, gazing in the rays of the solar. In fact, we made a pact, but now I think it's over. Red on wine, but he sipped on KA soda. One dash Coca-Cola.
He first mentions this pact, but then he quickly switches over to the fact that it's over. And then even more of this contradiction comes in when he speaks of KA soda, but then quickly switches within the stream of the song when he realizes that it's just Coca-Cola. These contradictions add an uncomfortable and unpredictable feel to the song. This uncomfortable and unpredictable feeling is further personified by the next line, I think we might be bipolar, I think she thinks I'm bipolar.
I think we might be bipolar. I think she thinks I'm bipolar.
The speech is again in the stream of consciousness style, where it reads like thoughts inside the head. The subtle jump from thinking you're bipolar to then thinking that someone else thinks you're bipolar is a logical way that the brain works. Next, of course, we have to examine the meaning behind this line. Bipolar, the disorder of depression, periods, and large elevations in mood, is exactly the depressive, sporadic feel that the song gives off. Keep in mind that sonically, this is all while a very high-pitched synth grows louder and louder, increasing the tension in the music and the sense of fear. In fact, the whole song also has a sense of dread to which is personified by the motif of sinking lower and lower, which of course coincides with the feeling of spiraling out of control that the whole album is filled with. On the surface, one could view the next song, Half Man, Half Shark, as just another bombast tale of drugs from King Krule. And yet, I think the song could very well be the most special song on the album, and the best for creating tension. The studio version makes this intensity very noticeable right off the bat, with its buzzing synthesizers that grow and grow as we hear the chant, half man with the body of a shark, in this almost nauseating hypnotization. This alone sets the song off in a very intense playing field, but once this tense intro is over, the song is completely let free. A few things that you need to pay attention to understand what makes this song quote-unquote intense. First of all, the drums. The beat and the pace of them is that of a galloping stampede. The drums continue to cascade into your ears as the song continues to intensify lyrically at the same time. The song has no distinct story, but rather an overarching theme of lust and menacing thoughts. The chorus seems to be speaking of locking eyes with someone, and then having your thoughts of them turn from soft, gentle thoughts into dark and menacing thoughts. These lyrics could very well relate to the feeling of lust that corrupts the mind. This theory would, of course, coincide with this later lyric as well. Then going on, Archie keeps the same tone, but the instrumentals change to a softer sound that clashes with the punk vocals that creates an almost mystifying atmosphere. The intense galloping beat is gone, the guitar subdued, and the listener is given a slight bit of peace after this chaos that the song is drenched in. But the singing goes out in style with an outro that's speaking mainly on loneliness. Beyond the song, the entirety of this album is written in music that continues the intense and unsettling feeling. Check 1 excels at using quiet spaces and the lack of sound to create tension in its airiness. The locomotive creates an impeccable atmosphere by having Archie's screams almost fade into the background and having other sounds fade in and out of the foreground. And even a song like Logos uses King Krule's lyrical build-up of uncomfortable situations as spoken about in the Biscuit Town section. And thanks for listening. I was so floored by this album on first listen that I thought it'd be neat to delve deeper into the songs and understand why the feeling of the ooze is so remarkable. I'll be coming out with new videos soon and a very special project I'm really interested in everyone hearing, which is one of the major reasons for the long absence. I should be able to get out the second part of the lobster analysis at some point in the near future also. Thanks for watching.